got no rewards, we will never be yours. Learn this on the way, man, gotta keep the heart pure. They ain't got no rewards, we will never be yours. God told me to wave.
Good day. Today we'll be talking about Real Estate 101, an extremely popular topic. A lot of individuals are interested in getting into real estate or want to know more about it. So this presentation was created with three things in mind. One, for real estate beginners, those looking to become a real estate flipper, real estate investor. Two, individuals looking to acquire a piece of property to live in, maybe acquire a second piece of property for passive income. And lastly, I created it with other real estate teachers in mind, with other real estate social influencers in mind, to serve as a reminder for us all some of the important foundational things that we must share with our students. Without further ado, let me introduce myself. My name is Sorrell. I'm from a small town called Boston, Massachusetts. And back in my heyday, I managed to go from one piece of property to owning 20 pieces of property in 36 months. I had my own real estate office. I had up to 6 agents working underneath me. I remember the day like yesterday when I was able to look into my bank account and I seen 7 figures sitting there liquid. My smile was from here until here. There came a time in my career where I got so arrogant, I got so cocky, that you couldn't tell me nothing about real estate. And on the outside looking in, it appeared like I was a real estate expert. But in hindsight, I realized that I didn't know diddly squat. I managed to lose my $1 million house. I managed to lose all 20 properties. And as fate would have it, I lost all of the money that was with it. So when I talk about real estate, when I share these lessons with you, it's coming from a place that's heartfelt. When I share some of this information with you, when I go over this information, it is coming from a place that I wish somebody would have gave me when I first started out in the business. So let's jump right into it. The business of real estate. A lot of individuals get into real estate and don't understand, first and foremost, that it is a business. What are the key things that drive this business? What are the things that makes an investor want to invest, makes a seller want to sell? What are the driving forces between all of these dynamics? So I'm going to talk a little bit about market phases. I'll talk a little bit about the strategies that you implement during a particular phase. It might be for cash flow. It might be for tax shelter purposes. You might be looking to purchase property for appreciation or simply wealth building. Depending upon the phase or the cycle, you have to execute the right strategy. Otherwise, you're hustling backwards. And I don't know about you, but I get tired of hustling backwards. We're going to talk about deal engineering. A lot of individuals or real estate teachers will talk and sell you on that concept and the idea of how to buy a property with no money down. That's deal engineering. But what you have to know and what you should know, because I know first and foremost, is how to do this properly and legally. How to articulate to the novice or to those who are unfamiliar with creative deal structuring so you don't scare them away and that they know that you're protecting yourself and them and everything's fully disclosed. This is the importance of really knowing deal engineering when you're in the business of real estate. Having people on your team that can stand and stamp everything that you're doing, no questions asked. Then we talk about how do you build your team? How do you get people on your team to help you do all of these things? This is information, again, that I had no clue about. These are things that I was doing, but I could not articulate to you why I was doing it. You need a real estate attorney, you need contractors, you need all of these people. We get into the numbers, right? When you're in the business of real estate, you understand the numbers. You understand what the initials NOI stand for. You understand what ROI stands for. You understand what your operating expenses are. You understand what cash on cash return is. This is the language, the lingo that we use when you're in the business of real estate. You can communicate here or you can communicate there. But it all makes sense once you understand the business of real estate. understanding area grades and assets. What is this property? What is it classified as? How do lenders look at this asset? How did we get the value here?
No rewards, we will never be yours. Learn this on the way, man. Gotta keep the heart pure. They ain't got no rewards, we will never be yours. God told me to wait, work hard, stand and endure, man. They ain't got no.
I compare the business of real estate, and I say versus buying a property. Because if you're not in the business of real estate, you can still acquire property, and that's all right. That's for home ownership purposes. You may purchase an asset and then say, you know, I want one more and I want to leave it to my kids. Or this is going to be for their college tuition. That's fine. You may purchase property and decide you want to become a landlord. I went from one property to owning 20 properties. And up to 10 properties, I'm running around, I'm fixing problems, I'm going with my contractors, I'm having a blast. And I literally got burnt out. Because when you own all of these properties, nothing goes wrong with one. Something always goes wrong with 2 or 3 properties at the same time. And not only 2 or 3 properties at the same time, big issues. The furnace may go, water heater may go. So now you just went from making $500, $600, $700 profit. Now that goes down the drain because your expense, $1,500, $2,000. When I purchased my first asset, it was a 3-family property in Roxbury, Massachusetts. Me and a buddy of mine purchased it as let's say a 3-flat for $430,000. 1 year later, we managed to sell it for $540,000. Not bad. We invested about 10 grand fixing one of the units up. We were at the right place at the right time doing the right thing. Back then, I could not articulate to you why we made so much profit in a 12-month period. You need to understand what this is and how it can affect you. It could either be towards your benefit or to your detriment. Passive income. Most people who get into real estate and own a piece of property talk about passive income. We want multiple streams of income. You can do this with home ownership. And lastly, we say, it seems like the right thing to do. Everybody's buying real estate. Once you get to a certain age in life, this person, oh, we just bought our first house. Oh, I just bought a piece of property. Everybody's doing it, so it seems like the right thing to do. So we're going to talk about what all of this means and figure out which lane you deserve to be in, which lane that you'd like to be in, what lane makes the most sense for you. And there's no right or wrong answer. Let me go back to market phases. This is one of the key things that I wish I knew, wish I understood when I was 20 properties strong. When I had all of that money in my bank account, I wish somebody would have broke these things down to me. As a matter of fact, for every real estate beginner, for every real estate investor, I assure you, if you look at all the real estate YouTubers, and I'm not knocking them, but I want you to pay close attention. No one spends enough time explaining to you these cycles, the importance of these cycles, these phases. David Lindell did a beautiful job illustrating the importance of them, illustrating what strategy you implement and why. The time frame each of them lasts. Beautiful job, in simple terms. A lot of times, individuals watch these rehab shows, these flip housing shows. But the information that is lacking or missing from these shows is this. How does someone buy a piece of property in January, put $60,000, $70,000 into it, and flip it 2 or 3 months later? Because they are in the right phase. They're in the right market. A bit about buyer phrase 1, some of the symptoms and the signs that go into this. We're talking about a recession, either in that particular area or on a macro level. The economy is just doing bad. You see high foreclosures. Also, you have what's called low demand, high supply. I'll repeat that. Low demand, meaning no one wants to buy. Everyone is shook because of the economy, and high supply. which means the prices have to go down.
No rewards, we will never be yours. Learn this on the way, man. Gotta keep the heart pure. They ain't got no rewards, we will never be yours. God told me to wave, work hard, stand and endure, man. They ain't got no.
Because if you're interested in selling, then you got to make it worthwhile. Hence is why we title this and we call it a buyer phase 1. Buyer phase 2. This deals with once the dust starts settling. You'll see more investors coming in from all over. They know it's a feast now. They know, you know what? Now's the time, because you can go from this stage to becoming a multimillionaire if you have the right capital, if you buy the right property, and you can sit back and just let it all compound. Seller phase 1. This is when everybody knows what's going on. Everybody's now buying real estate again. As a matter of fact, this is where it switches because the supply starts to shrink. The demand goes through the roof. Hence, we have what's going on now. Bidding wars, people overpaying for properties, offering $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 more. It now technically becomes a seller's market. This is their market. You can still find some deals. We have to understand these things. Then lastly, seller phase 2. Don't come in as an investor paying retail prices thinking you're going to flip, thinking you're buying it for cash flow purposes. You'll get crushed. This is the importance of market phases. Once you understand the business of real estate, these phases dictate what your investment actions and strategy should be. This is important. This is the information that I wish I knew back then.
No rewards, we will never be yours. Learn this on the way, man. Gotta keep the heart pure. They ain't got no rewards, we will never be yours. God told me to wave, work hard, stand and endure, man. They ain't got no.
Building your team. We talked about the importance of building your team. Because once you're in the business of real estate, you have to start to use your team to understand where the markets are. What are the symptoms of a particular market? What are the signs of a particular market? So you start networking with other real estate agents, other real estate brokers, other real estate investors, mortgage brokers, banks, appraisers, contractors, property manager, real estate attorney, real estate CPA. Now, I can't emphasize and stress the importance of a real estate attorney. Find people who are smarter than you, people that add value to your team. I'm starting from ground zero. And this process for me is a process because I now know that when I meet a real estate agent or a real estate broker, one of the first things I ask them, do you own any property? Not because they have to, but I need to understand their state of mind. I need to understand once I start talking business to them about the business of real estate, will they be able to comprehend it? Will they be able to follow me? Or do I have to find somebody different? Mortgage brokers, huge. Banks, huge. I remember giving certain mortgage brokers a try when I was in the business. They'd waste my time. They'd promise me the world. We'd get to the closing table or a week before the closing table. Then they'll tell me, oh, I can't close this deal. And I'm sitting there looking like, what do you mean you can't close the deal? I have a seller who's waiting on me. And then I decided, you know what? And when I finally found my 2 or 3 mortgage brokers that 95% of the time could do what they say, do it on time, do it without any hiccup, I stuck with them. So when we're picking these team people or these members on our team, it's our responsibility to vet them properly. And putting this team together takes some time. I'm literally starting back from square one. And me going through and finding these individuals is a challenge because you want to take your time. You want to deal with individuals that are professional. You want to deal with individuals that are on the same accord as you, that answer your phone call, that show up on time, that have some insight, some guidance to give you. Again, these people are really going to be crucial dependent upon how far you want to go with the real estate business and building your portfolio. Real estate CPA, the initial CPA, certified public accountant. someone who's going to be able to tell you to maximize your tax advantages, how to take advantage of appreciation, depreciation, 1031 exchanges, so forth and so on. Somebody who specializes in this. A property manager, right? I used to tell myself, oh, I don't want to become a landlord. I don't want to deal with that. But I had no intelligence, no information on property managers. I just knew I didn't want to be a landlord, but I didn't know who could help me manage my asset. Lastly, we're going to talk about mentorship and networks. Find somebody willing to mentor you. Find somebody willing to make an investment into you to show you the ins and outs, to show you how they got from point 1 to point 10. A lot of times we're out here trying to figure things out on our own. We're trying to put this together. We're reading books. We're watching YouTube. We're watching social influencers. Spend some time and find a mentor. Somebody who's willing to give you the game. Somebody who's willing to see the value in you and understand what it takes. Spend some time finding a mentor. Your networks, seminars, you joining organizations, real estate organizations, continuing your education, equally important.
No rewards, we will never be yours. Learn this on the way, man. Gotta keep the heart pure. Ain't got no rewards, we will never be yours. God told me to wave, work hard, stand and endure, man. Ain't got no.
What should I have done but I didn't know? As I told you before, this presentation was created in mind for real estate beginners. And when I think back on some of the things and mistakes that I made, I end up here. I often have conversations to this very day with some of my friends who are looking to purchase a piece of property to live in as a first-time buyer. And mostly people talk about, oh, should I take the first-time home buyer certificate? To each his own. And then I mention to them FHA financing as an owner-occupied piece of property. And they say, what's that? They have no information on it. No one's telling them the benefits of doing FHA. All they know is this. Had I done FHA, I could have did 3% down, 3.5% down, 4% down. The seller could have gave me a closing cost credit. I could have got a repair allowance and benefited handsomely with my first deal. But because I didn't understand this and didn't have the information and no one was dragging me to the well of information, I didn't execute it. You want to understand the differences between these two. Sometimes this could be more powerful than that. But I'm not going to steer you in one direction. I want you to do your own research, do your own due diligence, and figure out which one is best. My first 3-unit purchase, I bought a 3-family property. Some people refer to it as a 3-flat. We had purchased it, me and a buddy of mine had purchased that property for $430,000. 1 year later, we sold it for $540,000. Beautiful investment. However, when I think back to that process, even though I made money, a lot of people do this. Are you looking to live in your property? And if so, will you end up working to live in that property to pay your mortgage? Or should your asset be paying you and you put money in your pocket? Let me repeat that. Or let me give you an example. This first 3-unit property that I purchased, me and my partner, we were making approximately $800 a piece in profit. Whereas, had I moved into one of those units, I could have lived rent-free. He and I could have lived rent-free. And our regular paycheck that we were making at work could have went towards savings and building up more wealth, creating more income, because we didn't have now a mortgage. Instead, I took that $800, I'm going to the club, I'm buying another Mercedes, I'm doing all of these things, wasting that money. And then I still had to pay my rent or my mortgage at that particular time. So I now suggest to individuals, your first purchase should either be a 2-unit, a 2-flat, or a 3-unit property. So you and your wife, you and your family, or you individually could live rent-free. And while you're living rent-free, all the income that you're working for, you put it in the bank and you save. And you keep saving. Some people say, oh, well, I don't want to live with my tenants. This isn't a forever move. This is a catalyst in order to get to where you need to go. So your next step, if you end up buying a condo or a single-family property, you've done saved up enough money, you've done executed your plan, and now, once you move out of that particular unit that you were living in, that money will now cover 80% or more of your primary residence, the single family or the condo. These are all strategies. These are all techniques, again, that I wish I would have employed and knew the information to do so. Being a landlord. As I told you, I went from one property to owning 20 properties. For my 10 pieces of property, I was a landlord. I had a blast. I enjoyed screening my tenants. I enjoyed going property to property. When things happen, I enjoyed doing this. And to the point, I got burnt out. Because unfortunately, all the problems would always happen at the same time. I would have 3 months, nothing's wrong. And then one day, one tenant flooded the washer and dryer. The next tenant, their water heater went. The next tenant, the furnace went. So now I'm running around crazy. Being a landlord for me has its pros and cons. If that's what you're into, that's great. Some people manage it and do well at it. They enjoy it. But in the business of real estate, we ultimately try to find what's called a property manager. We manage other people to manage our assets because we want to free up our time to do more deals. We want to free up our time to do other things and have what we're going to say quality of life. But if this is your thing, that's fine. If it works for you, great. Lastly, we're going to go here. I have a friend I just spoke to. She just purchased a single-family home. She said, I put down $80,000. And I said, what? She said, yeah. I wanted my mortgage payment to be lower. And I said, well, why didn't you do the FHA 3.5% down? No one told her about it. And more importantly, in my opinion, she could have did this. Now her mortgage payment would have been an extra $150. She would have had $50,000 more in her pocket. For me, I prefer the $50 more in my pocket so I can go over here and do more deals. So I can go over here and use that money to make more money. But that's just me. Again, educate yourself. Do the numbers. These are the things that I didn't know. I was just rushing. I was going as I went, learning as I go. And in the end, I lost it all.
No rewards, we will never be yours. Learn this on the way, man. Gotta keep the heart pure. They ain't got no rewards, we will never be yours. God told me to wave, work hard, stand and endure, man. They ain't got no.
Master your lane. Again, you can get into the real estate industry, the real estate business as a broker, agent, contractor, an investor. There are just so many different things for you to do. But focus on one thing. Get the education on one thing. Whether you're dealing with 4 units or under, that's residential, 5 units or more, get the education. Master your lane. Spend the time. Understand that it is a journey that goes like this until you master it. OPM. I'm a huge advocate of OPM, other people's money. Use the bank's money. Get with hard money lenders. Find private equity investors. Find debt partners. Don't get into the habit of using your own money. Now, I know there are some people out there that say, I don't like debt. I have it. If you got it, again, this is a preference. I'm not going to steer you one way or the other. I'm going to tell you how I do it and why I do it, how I do it, and I'm going to run you through the numbers. As Jay would say, Jay-Z, the big homie, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. So I'm purely a numbers guy. If the numbers work, if the numbers make sense, argue with them. Otherwise, to each his own. Growing pains. Once you get involved with real estate and you start acquiring multiple properties, be prepared for the growing pains. You may buy an asset that has termites and no one told you about it. It didn't come up in the inspection report. You may buy an asset that has bad history. You might be upside down on the property. You may purchase a property and it has a bad loan. And what I mean by bad loan is you may have did an ARM, adjusted rate mortgage. And after 3 years, it adjusts. And now the rate shoots through the roof. And you're like, hey, what happened? There are going to be some things that you do that as you get better with time, they'll improve. But embrace it. Use every opportunity as a lesson learned and smile as you go. The important thing is sitting on your hands. And what I mean by that is this. Right now, I'm starting from square one. I'm building my team. I want to purchase my piece of property to live in so I can live rent-free. Did you hear what I just said? I'm going to purchase my first piece of property because I'm starting at ground one so I can live rent-free. I don't want to live with my tenants. I dislike tenants, but it's not about what I want to do. It's about what I need to do so I can get where I need to go. So right now, that's the goal. That's the plan. That's the strategy. As a savvy investor, for me right now, today, 2021, I'm itching to buy a piece of property. But again, prices are here. So if I can't find the right property where the numbers make sense, I got to sit on my hands. I have to be comfortable with that. If it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now, be comfortable with sitting on my hands. Prepare and do the work. Keep researching, doing my due diligence on the area I want to be in, the states I want to be in. Because when opportunity presents itself, now I strike and ride it all the way back up. Because if I get anxious and if I purchase this property at the wrong time and I'm here and then the market drops, it's not very intelligent. So be comfortable. The question here is some people say, well, am I to do nothing? No. I have some friends as well. Right now, the market's here. They are still finding deals. So again, as an investor, if you're acquiring property, if the numbers make sense, that's on you. But don't force it. Know where you're going, know how to get there, and the risk associated with it. And lastly, enjoy the journey. The business of real estate can pay off handsomely. The business of real estate is something that you can pass on to your children's children's children. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the journey. Make sure you're looking at all of these things and you're implementing them, you're executing them. Put your plan together. I used to always tell myself, my plan is here, and I'd miss things all the time. So write your plan down. Have your plan reviewed. Challenge it. Deal with people smarter than you. And share the information. Enjoy the journey. Thank you, and I hope this was of some help. I'll see you on the next Real Estate.
'Cause they ain't got no rewards, we will never be yours. Learn this on the way, man, gotta keep the heart pure.